Bitcoin, blockchain, ICOs, Ethereum, and all the rest. Are cryptocurrencies the 21st century unicorn, a speculative bubble, or the future of money? The CryptoCast will help you understand the rise, the fall of digital currency, the highs, the highlights, the potential, and the lows, the scams, and pitfalls. I'm your host, Jason Hartman, and we'll talk with some of the biggest names in the space. CryptoCast is your resource for all things crypto. Let's go. It's my pleasure to welcome Scott Klososky. He is founder and principal of TriCorps Technologies and Cybersecurity. Scott, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great today. It's Friday, one of my favorite days.
Fantastic. Where are you located?
I'm in Oklahoma City right now.
Okay, fantastic. Scott, technology is changing the world so much. It is just staggering to try and keep up with it. It has amazed us all in so many ways. There are upsides and downsides to it, obviously. Talk to us a little bit about what's coming down the road and how it might change our lives, impact our businesses, impact society, and so forth.
In the big picture, we talk about the digital transformation all the time. And I think the digital transformation to me has meant a 50-year time in history from 2000 to 2050, where during that 50 years, humans and machines are integrating in how we get things done, how we do anything. We use the word humology, right? The combination of humans and technology. So I think what we're going to see is just a continuation of more and more examples of machines helping us to make decisions, or systems making the decisions for us, or robots doing the work for us. And even us with more sophisticated wearables and then implantables. And so, I think we're in for another few decades of literally integrating technology into our lives and into how we work, which is going to dramatically change the economy and, probably dramatically change how some of our lives operate.
Mm-hmm. From the point of cybersecurity, and maybe that includes kind of the surveillance issues as well. I mean, there's so much here. These are such big, broad topics, obviously, but you can just pick any sort of part of it you want. What should we as individuals and small businesses be concerned about?
Probably for me, there's three things. One is, how does technology change your career or your business, right? Or what you do for a living is something we always need to be aware of. And there's positives and negatives depending on, what we do for a living. But I think being very aware about how technology is going to change your career path is something we need to do. And some people need to do a better job of because they don't plan enough for how technology will change their career path. I think the second thing is we need to be really careful about security, because certainly we've seen that in a digital world, cybercrime is becoming more and more of a problem. So I think that's something that every individual, every small business, every large business needs to be concerned about. And maybe in the big picture, the last thing is, are we going to be any happier? And, that's a topic I've written about that I think, we also really need to ask ourselves is, we get more and more and more technology, are we going to be any happier, than we are today when we integrate with all of this?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great topic, by the way, and I would argue that we are not happier. I would argue that we're actually less happy with all the technology we have now. And it's kind of funny that I'm saying that because I absolutely love technology. I find it fascinating. But I'm sort of wondering if we'll get to a point where we're early in this game, right? And, that's mostly the internet and a lot of SaaS-based things and social media and so forth, right? When I say that, I kind of wonder, maybe it's just early, right? We haven't kind of learned how to deal with all this stuff yet, or where it needs to be integrated in our lives and where it doesn't. So maybe there comes a point where it really will flip. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, take the last 20 years, for example, since maybe the dot-com boom 1.0, and, the last several years we've had 2.0, right? Are we any better off?
As far as being happy and fulfilled, when you say better off, I just want to make sure I define better off.
I don't know what it means either, so go ahead and take a stab at it. Yeah.
Okay, so let me take better off. I think economically we're probably better off. I think convenience-wise we're better off. I mean, certainly technology brings us a lot of convenience. So I think in those ways, we're better off. I think we have a better ability to communicate with each other than we ever had before. I think we are better off physically because we have much better access to health data than we've ever had before to make our own decisions. I mean, there's a lot of things that I can point to and say we're better off. I agree with you. I mean, certainly I don't know that we could argue that we're happier. So I don't know that all this technology has made us more joyful or more fulfilled or more enlightened. I think the jury's still out on that one. The biggest thing for me, I think we have to realize is for everything that is positive about technology, there are also negative aspects.
Yeah.
And although I think the positive outweigh the negative barely, I think there's an awful lot of negative aspects about what technology's brought us as well. And that's saying something because I'm a technologist. It's what I do and what I love.
Right. Absolutely. And I would even argue that maybe things aren't really more convenient. That might almost be an illusion. When I say all this stuff or ask these questions, I'm sort of partially playing devil's advocate. I don't totally believe what I'm even asking necessarily, but I kind of do. I don't know. It's sort of hard to figure out because, look at the complexity of our lives nowadays. And, if you want to know how complex your life is, just think of your life in the early 90s and before, and then look at the number of websites you have a membership to and the number of passwords and credentials you need to somehow manage. And, how things go wrong and you get locked out of things or, the software makes a mistake and just, I don't know if it's more convenient. I never envisioned myself when I was 20 years old. I kind of thought I would be successful in life, and now I am, arguably. And, I don't know. I never envisioned myself looking at a screen all day. That wasn't what I pictured success being. I sort of pictured it more like being out on a yacht or a golf course or at a country club. That's...
Well, maybe though we need to separate complexity from convenience because both things are true. I think we have more convenience. In other words, it's easier to get music, to find music and play music. It's easier to buy things and to shop.
Sure.
It's easier to learn and to get information. In 100 ways, technology has made our life more convenient. But at the same time your convenience goes up, I think the complexity also rises. A good example is your mobile device.
Right.
We have a mobile device. It's got apps. That mobile device gives us a ton of convenience. But when you have to upgrade that thing and you got to, try to move all of your software and music and move everything over and, it can be a nightmare for some people. So complexity is different than convenience. And I think it might be true that we're getting way more convenience and there's an equal amount of complexity that comes along with that convenience, which really hurt. Like some people it hurts them. Like my mother, who's almost 80, she likes the convenience of devices, but the complexity just absolutely drives her crazy.
Yeah, and I don't know what that's doing to our psychology and our mood and so forth. It's really just mind-boggling. It really is in so many ways. Should we be worried about AI? Elon Musk has made some interesting statements about how artificial intelligence is pretty scary to him. A lot of people think it's going to be incredible. None of us really know, do we?
AI is an extremely powerful tool, as is robotics, any type of automated robot or drone or car or any automated thing, as is machine learning tools or deep learning tools. These are very, very powerful tools. Should we be worried? Absolutely, because anytime you develop a really powerful tool, it can be misused on purpose or by accident, and it can have, disastrous impacts. On the other side of that, I think we're getting smarter about the collateral damage and the consequences of things that we build. In other words, when we built a nuclear bomb, there was no real comprehension of how much damage that could do or, what nuclear could be for us.
Yeah. Or just to be fair on balance, or how many wars it might prevent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think AI, some people I think are a little bit too black and white about is it bad or is it good, or should it scare us to death, or, is it the next greatest thing in the world? That's probably an unenlightened way to look at it. Mm-hmm. It is a powerful tool, just like fire or guns or nuclear, right? Or any of the other powerful tools we built. And there are positive aspects and there are potentially negative aspects. And what we really should be talking about is, what can we do to assure that AI or machine intelligence is used for good versus bad? I mean, that's really what we should be talking about, not is it good, is it bad? Just what can we do to assure that it is used in healthy ways?
Yeah, yeah. What are self-learning systems? I mean, that's a segment of AI, right?
I don't say it that way, no.
Okay.
I read that a lot, that people say that. I don't think it's accurate. From a vocabulary standpoint, people use the term AI like it's an umbrella, and it's not. It would be true if you said machine intelligence.
Right.
So the way that I think we should talk about it is that underneath the umbrella of machine intelligence, you have AI, you have DSS, which is a decision support system, which is an AI where the human makes the final decision. Okay. You have machine learning and you have deep learning. And then you have a number of other things, right? But I'm just trying to answer your question.
Sure.
So, self-learning machines, today we have two categories, machine learning and deep learning. Mm-hmm. And all that means is it's two different ways that a machine can build its own rules or it can learn its own lessons in order to make a decision. And machine learning and deep learning are different. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're different ways to learn, one more powerful than the other. But when people say that's a subset of AI, I completely disagree. An AI is a piece of software with rules and algorithms built into it, typically by humans, and that AI makes a decision. It thinks or it makes a decision like a human would make decision. The fact that you have machine learning tools, that's a separate thing, but you could mix AI and ML. Mm-hmm. Okay, but I'm just saying vocabulary-wise, when the press, I see writers all the time go, oh, deep learning and machine learning are subsets of AI.
Right, and ML is machine learning. Okay, go ahead.
Right, to be a subset of it, it would have to be something that is, akin to the parent thing, and that it would be, a smaller, thinner version of the parent thing. Mm-hmm. And machine learning is a completely separate thing from AI.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so what haven't I asked you about? What do you just want to share with our audience about anything you're working on? I mean, you guys are working on a whole bunch of really exciting projects. Anything you just want to share?
I think the biggest thing I would want to share is probably just keep your eye on the security side of things. And that's just because at our firm, we get to see a lot of people who are being taken. I mean, they're losing money, they're losing their credit cards. Small businesses are, people are cheating them out of payroll money at times or tricking them into wiring money out that they shouldn't wire out. So one of the biggest things I would say about technology is we at our shop, we think about that technology can help you prosper, and then you have to also protect. And today, I think a lot of people are focusing on how does technology prosper us? How does it help us win? I think we need to really make sure we're thinking about technology as defense, not just offense. I would just encourage everybody listening to me now, please up your knowledge on who the digital criminals are, what their attack vectors are, what you can do to protect yourself and to be safer. Because a lot of the reason that they're able to get businesses to wire money out or to switch payroll records and do direct deposits to bad accounts is users, regular people out in the world, they don't know enough about the battle. And so I just would encourage everybody to do everything you can to get smarter about the battle that's going on so that you don't become a victim.
What's interesting? There's a lot of talk, and you're absolutely right, about identity theft and, various cyber crimes. But what there doesn't seem, there's like another component or another category of that doesn't seem to be much talked about. Certainly people talk about, maybe hacking elections, stealing money, things like that. But what about the most valuable asset anybody owns, their reputation? The world of cyber smearing and trolling and cyber bullying and these types of things. Do you have any thoughts about that angle of, I'd call it cybercrime?
It's an interesting question because, you have everything from doxing, where somebody posts your information online for everybody else to see, mm-hmm. to revenge porn, mm-hmm. I'm just pulling out different categories of how people's reputations can get damaged. But it's a bit of a different category, right? I mean, I think it is
competitors writing bad Yelp reviews about you, Yeah, right.
Yeah. Or angry ex-spouses, trashing you online or sure. Whatever. Yeah. We've had this reputation issue for a while. This isn't new. I think it's just getting worse.
But now the megahorn is so available and it's anonymous, So it's pretty scary. And, cyber investigators, that's what they're for. And we had to hire a cyber investigator on a case we had. And I cannot believe what they can find out. Everybody leaves a fingerprint, no matter how good they think they are. They leave fingerprints. They either get careless or they just don't know how to do it. It's truly amazing in, working with these cyber investigators that we've worked with, what you can find out about someone who thinks they're doing something anonymously, but they're really not.
Yeah, I think our online reputations are going to become more and more interesting. I mean, just more and more interesting from how you cultivate it to what do you do when somebody tries to besmirch your reputation, and do you have any ability to fix it? And today we don't. But when you see GDPR in Europe, you see some of the laws coming out.
Right.
It's nice to see that they're trying to give people more control over your online presence, because that's what GDPR, one of the things it did over in Europe, right, is it gives you control to either go invisible or the right to, have people delete your data off the internet. And I like that. I wish the U.S., we have, I think, was it Tim Cook at Apple is calling for the same type of things here in the U.S. as what GDPR did in Europe.
Mm-hmm. Well, before GDPR, I mean, Europe had or at least some countries, at least France, I think, had the right to be forgotten, where, they're sort of like, after 3 years or something like that, whatever you did in the past goes away, type of thing. Maybe they did that because of all the affairs, which is a common French thing or something. I don't know.
Sure, but could be.
I mean, how do we do this? How are we going to deal with this in the future? It's just, like you can have these people out there doing hit and runs, drive-by shootings. It's really not fair. In the old days, yes, they could do it too. Certainly, we've all seen the movie Mean Girls, right? Maybe, right. And we know this has always happened. People always talk behind your back. That's just human nature. But now it's more anonymous and there's more of a megahorn, right?
Yeah, it is. And anybody from anywhere in the world can now use that megaphone, not just people in your community. So it's a very different dynamic now. And I mean, to answer your question about what are we going to do, we have to have better tools and better capabilities to be able to manage your reputation. And today, a lot of it is out of your control. In other words, if somebody posts something on one of your social networks, good luck calling the social network and saying, hey, you need to take this down. Yeah. I mean, we just don't have much control over our reputations. And in some ways that's good, because somebody who has a bad reputation and deserves it, that they can't clean it unfairly. But it does set up a situation where somebody can be unfairly besmirched and can't do a whole lot about it.
Yeah, no, I know. I think that one of the things is that, all these tech companies have just gotten away with murder, that they can claim that, hey, we're just a platform. But it's unfair that, the New York Times can't make the same claim. They can't have someone write an op-ed piece, publish it in their paper, and not be liable for what is said. Yet Facebook can be, they can just say, hey, we're just a platform, we don't have to do anything, or Yelp can claim the same thing. They just put their hands up and say, yeah, it's just a platform. Anybody can say whatever they want. But you can't do that if you're a media company. Isn't that interesting that those two things are disconnected in that way? I think the law really needs to catch up.
Yeah, I suppose what I've thought for a while is we need to separate what is a walled garden from, what is a wide open bazaar.
Right.
So, there are.
So Facebook, what you mean by that is Facebook is a walled garden where you can only have 5,000 friends, right? Yeah, got it.
Yeah, it should be a walled garden, and it's not. So instead of being a walled garden, it's basically a wide open bazaar, but they operate a bit like it's a walled garden. And for example, hey, a 13-year-old's not supposed to have an account, but they do absolutely zero to see if it's actually a 13-year-old.
Right.
In fact, you can open up any kind of fake Facebook account, and they don't do anything to see that it's a fake Facebook account. Nothing.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem right there, is you can have all kinds of Russians or hate speech or anything posted and no accountability as to who it was that posted anything. Mm-hmm. So, my issue is, I guess if I were running Facebook, I would make it a walled garden that I would have to verify identity if you're going to be on it. That way, if somebody's going to post something that's completely inappropriate, we know exactly who it was that posted. And there can be consequences for that, which we don't have today.
Right.
And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some sites on the internet that are wide open bazaars. It's just that you shouldn't act like you're a walled garden or charge money like you're a walled garden when you are not. I mean, you need to make a decision. If you want to be a wide open bazaar with no rules, then let's tell the world that you are that. There's going to be hate speech and that you cannot believe anything that you read on this thing. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah, very good. Very good points. Interesting stuff. Just wrap this up for us. This has been an interesting discussion, and give out your website too.
First of all, Jason, I appreciate you asking the cool questions. These are questions people need to be thinking about. In the last book I wrote, that's what I said a lot is, my biggest concern is that we don't ask enough questions about what technology is going to do. And if we would ask more questions and ask the right questions, we'd have a better future. The website is TriCorpsTechnologies.com. And so please feel free if you want to stop by there. Or the last book I wrote was called Did God Create the Internet? And you can get that book on Amazon. And, it's a very philosophical book about, is technology going to help or hurt the human race?
Fascinating stuff. These are questions that people need to keep asking, and we need to be talking about this stuff because in the broader sense, it's just very, very important. Scott, thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. Be sure to check out the show's specific website and our general website, hartmanmedia.com, for appropriate disclaimers and terms of service. Remember that guest opinions are their own, and if you require specific legal or tax advice or advice in any other specialized area, please consult an appropriate professional. And we also very much appreciate you reviewing the show. Please go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio or whatever platform you're using and write a review for the show. We would very much appreciate that. And be sure to make it official and subscribe so you do not miss any episodes. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.